This podcast is meant for general health information and is not meant to override any medical advice. All questions will be screened and not contain any personal information. If you want a private consultation, contact us via positivechoice.org or you can contact your provider directly. Thank you and enjoy the episode.
Hello, and welcome to the Positive Choice Wellness Podcast. I'm Melanie. I'm an exercise physiologist and nutritionist.
And I am Kimberly, and I'm a registered dietitian.
Woo! Okay.
Rah.
It's exciting. I'm excited. I'm always excited. When am I not excited?
True that. I feel that, though. Me too.
Yeah, I mean, I like talking about stuff. I don't just like talking.
Conversations, they're fun.
People talking. Yay.
Yay.
Exactly. But I guess the reason why I'm excited because we get to talk about hydration. This is such a fun conversation.
And important. So good.
Yes. And like, I always reference this because we have a video chat going so we can see each other while we're having this conversation. I'm always in a swimming pool in my chat. So I'm like, hydration. I'm in the water.
In my element. Yes.
Yes. But water is great, but it's not always about hydration. We're talking about the generalized topic of hydration. I just happened to mention I'm in a swimming pool in my picture. So,
yes.
But yeah, this is what I get to do a deep dive into because, you know, who doesn't want to know more about hydration and, you know, what the human body needs?
Yeah, truly. And I think it's something that, I don't know, sometimes I feel like it goes underrated, right? Like it doesn't get quite the attention it deserves.
Yeah, and I also feel like United States as a society, we are notoriously dehydrated as a whole.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially when it gets to like the summer months, people get more and more and more dehydrated, or winter months. Actually, all months doesn't matter. Every month we're dehydrated.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's first talk, I guess, like how do we gauge our proper level of hydration before we like start getting into what can assist us in this? Like, what would be like the perfect level of hydration?
Yeah, I think it comes down to urination, right?
So let's get started with that. Let's do it.
Woo!
Okay.
What a fun place to begin. Yes. So how frequently are you going to the bathroom? What color are we looking at here? Is it lemonade? Is it totally clear? Or is it super dark and something's happening? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's probably like quickest, easiest form of rapid measurement for us when we're checking our hydration status. What do you think, though?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you know, a lot of people use thirst as a reference point for, you know, whether they're hydrated or not. But the fun fact about thirst is it means you're already dehydrated if you feel thirsty.
Right.
Thirst is indicative of dehydration, actually, not hydration. And yeah, I usually go off of urine color as well. It's the best means of gauging whether or not we're properly hydrated, right? Like, you know, if you are, you know, drinking plenty of fluids throughout the day and you're going to the bathroom a reasonable amount, you're probably sufficiently hydrated. Now, I think a lot of folks want a number, like how much we need to drink. And there is a number that has been said for many, many moons, although I don't know how accurate it is.
Right. Are you talking about 8 cups of water a day? The minimum advice?
Yes. Or otherwise known as 64 ounces.
Yes.
That's one of the things I've heard as far as how much water you need is 8-ounce glasses of water per day. Another one I said is 1 ounce of water per 1 pound of body weight or something like that, which I was, or like half your body weight. Like I've heard a few like weird ones around your body weight and like how much you need that way.
Right.
I think it might be kilogram actually now I'm thinking about it.
Okay, that's one that I've heard is your body, well, not in kilograms, I guess. Your body weight in pounds divided in half. That's how many ounces.
It's essentially kilograms because that's divided by 2.2. So
well,
yeah, close enough.
You're right.
Yeah,
you're right. Never mind.
We don't use that. We don't use that kind of stuff. That's metric. That's hard. We just do the imperial, which is the dumb one. So
how we were raised.
I know. But yeah, I've heard that as a means of that's how much you need. You know, and what's right? What is it?
I mean, what's hard about hydration is I feel like, well, it varies so drastically for everybody because not only are we like different sizes and weights, but also are you working in construction and outside in the sun all day sweating? Or are you an athlete? Or do you have some kind of like kidney or heart condition, so your fluids are actually restricted, right? There's so many factors that go into it. Is there a certain number you personally strive for in terms of ounces? Like, what have you heard is like the magic number solution?
I have not heard a single one, actually.
Okay, fair enough.
The closest we get is the 8 ounce glasses, which is not based on anything, by the way. For anyone listening, 8 ounce glasses of water is based on nothing but an easy way to remember: drink water.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which most people need more than that.
Yes.
And
yes,
it's I'll tell you a story. It was so funny. I had a patient in one of my classes who, one of the things that happens is if you are eating a lot of fiber and you don't drink enough water, it turns into a little cement block in your intestines and things don't pass through very well. And it's a water sponge. Like, fiber is a water sponge. So if you increase your diet full of fruits and vegetables and whole grains, you actually have to up your water intake to accommodate that. Yes. And a lot of people don't know that. And so I had a patient of mine who was like, "Oh, I'm having issues going to the bathroom. It's a little backed up and I'm having some hard times." And I was like, "Okay, well, you need to drink more water." And they said, "Oh, I'm drinking tons of water." I was like, "Well, drink more." I was very blunt. I was like, "Well, drink more. Sorry,
Nice.
You're not drinking enough." And they did, and it solved their problem. And the tons of water they thought they were drinking still wasn't enough. Yeah. And
wow.
I don't know what they're gauging that off of. Maybe they were basing it because they never expressed to me what they thought was a normal amount of water for them. But based on our conversation, whatever they thought was normal was not. And they definitely needed more. So they were not properly hydrated. And so that's something else to keep in mind for folks at home who maybe struggle with that same issue. If you eat a lot of fiber and things are not moving through as well as you'd like, water, drink your water. That is so crucial.
Yes. Hydrate up. Absolutely. Yep. One dietitian I really, really respect, she gives the advice of like we said, about an ounce for every kilogram ish that you weigh, which would get most people over that 64 ounces a day. Which I think that's personally what I try to strive for too, is about that same number. I think it's pretty good, unless, okay, of course, your doctor's told you otherwise or something like that. But
yeah.
And then too, a positive of incorporating more of those fruits and vegetables, to your point, is they can count towards our hydration status also. So
yes,
we like that.
That's very true. I mean, if you have lots of high water fruits and vegetables, that does help, right?
Yes.
So another thing to consider, you can get your hydration from other sources. Like, I always think this is such a random tangent, but I have cats, and and cats are notoriously dehydrated. Like, they actually do not drink a lot of water by nature. And
really?
Yeah. And so they encourage you to feed them wet food because that's one of the ways they can get their water in their diets. Cat food from a can.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah. Okay. So, that's just, hey, something for cat owners out there. Feed the cats wet food.
You're welcome.
But yeah, you can get it from your diet. Don't rely solely on it, though. I know some people think, "Oh, just eat all the fruits and vegetables." Like, no, you gotta drink something too. But
yes, absolutely.
As far as like numbers, there really isn't. A lot of it is I would say trial and error, right? So it's a lot of paying attention to your body, paying attention to how things are moving through you and how frequently you're going to the bathroom, what color it is, as gross as it sounds. It's data, right? And sometimes you need data to get an idea. And like, you have to do it a couple times before you figure it out. And then you go, all right, I need this much water. We're good. Like, I can tell you how much water I need, and I don't use the body weight divided by whatever amount thingy.
Right.
I don't.
There's so many. Yeah.
I just know how many of my big old, I'm holding it in my hand, my big old water jugs I drink, because this is 40 ounces.
Nice.
So I drink anywhere from 3 to 4 of those a day.
Nice.
So anywhere from 120 to 160 ounces. And part of that is because on the days I don't do my intense swim workout, I don't need the extra bottle. But like when I do my intense swim workout, I definitely need another bottle of water.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh. And good for you on that, because I am not currently swimming, but I grew up a water polo and swimmer, and it was so hard for me to drink water during my workouts just because I was in it. I don't know why. It was this weird psychological thing.
Oh, no,
so
I can tell you why. I can tell you exactly why.
Oh, really?
Yes, I have an explanation for that. Okay, so, okay, let me hear it out. Okay, ready? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I was hoping to bring this up, so I'm so happy you did.
Sweet. Yes.
So one of the really cool things, I guess, about when it comes to water, when it comes to our hydration is, or I guess not cool, it kind of sucks actually, but like if you're in a pool or if you're swimming or, you know, let's say you drink water, you get sick and you end up throwing up, right? That's gross, but that could happen too. It happens to a lot of us. When water hits your tongue, okay, that gives your brain the indication that you drink and it stops the signal for thirst.
Wow.
Yeah.
My whole childhood makes sense.
Yeah. So, and that's why swimmers, especially in high school, like they're notoriously dehydrated. I was one of them. The kids don't bring water bottles to practice. And I look at them now like, no,
hydrate. Yeah.
I used to coach for a high school swim team. So like, it was definitely one of like, drink water, children, why? Niños, why? So, you know, if you get that sensation of water in your mouth, your brain automatically goes, great, I'm hydrated. No need to drink now, even though you maybe never swallowed it. Because if you're swimming in a pool, water's in your mouth, but you're spitting it back out. Like you're not swallowing pool water. Ew.
Right.
Yeah, like gross. So that's why that's happening, is it gives you this illusion that you're drinking when you're not.
Oh, so that's a good fact actually with summer, right? A lot of people spend more time in the water, so don't just assume you're not thirsty, or that you're well hydrated or whatever.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's so interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So that's one thing. And then there's another thing I want to share too about hydration, which is tied a little bit more in with age. But that's it's another detriment to people who don't drink enough water or don't stay hydrated enough. Like you probably have heard of instances of older adults who are in the hospital from dehydration, right? It's very common actually. Yep. There's a reason why. And it's a bad reason because there's no control over this part. But when we reach our 70s, and there's no specific age, it just kind of like happens, but your brain stops telling you it's thirsty. Your brain kind of stops doing that part of its job. It's like, whatever, which isn't great. Really kind of sucks actually. So you stop getting these signals for thirst. You stop drinking as much water. You think you're perfectly hydrated because you're not getting the thirsty signal. But the thing is, that's starting to shut off. Like you're not really going to get a thirsty signal. So that's another thing to be fully aware of as you get older. When you hit your 70s, you should be very aware of the fact that you probably aren't going to feel as thirsty anymore. And you need to be more diligent with your drinking of fluids and hydrating yourself. You know, I keep saying water. You don't have to drink just water, but you get what I mean.
Right. Yeah. So you have to be paying more attention to it. That is so interesting.
Yeah. So, you know, the body does great things. It's fun. It's a good time.
The human body is crazy. Definitely.
Yeah. So, you know, for those of us reaching this summertime, it's important to pay attention to like, how much am I drinking? How, you know, what am I drinking? Right. Because that's another part of this conversation we can have is like, you know, what are some things that may potentially not be hydrating that we consume and don't realize? And I could tell you a terrifying story about my husband.
Oh no, what is it?
I'll tell you after we talk about it. I'll tell you after. Go ahead. I want to lure people in. This is the hook.
Okay, yeah, stay around hook. Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, what's crazy to me is the just sheer abundance of different types of beverages that are out there. Some that claim to be more hydrating than others, or you know, whatever. There's so much out there. But there is definitely, like you mentioned, liquids and things, particular drinks that actually have the opposite effect. We're like drinking a liquid assuming we're getting hydrated, but it actually has a diuretic effect or whatever, right? And does a dehydrating effect. So
I'm drinking one right now. It's a caffeinated seltzer. It's a caffeinated seltzer. Hooray.
Hooray. The honesty. That's hilarious. Yeah. So caffeine is one of those culprits, right? Where it can actually dehydrate us. And there's a lot of, you know, for good reason, a lot of people like to get their caffeine in for, you know, depending on the time of the day, whatever. But yeah, caffeinated beverages can actually have the opposite effect and do have a dehydrating effect to us.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer.
Yeah, and caffeinated beverages can be a slew of things, right? Like what? Green tea, coffee,
anything coffee,
caffeinated seltzer that I just showed you.
Yeah, that energy drinks, right?
Yes.
Those kinds of things.
Oh, and like pre-workout. Like if you take pre-workout.
Yes, you can take pre-workout that has an abundance of caffeine in it too.
Basically a dehydrated energy drink if you were to really put a name to it.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So, yeah, don't be consuming an excess of, well, we don't want like too much caffeine anyway, right? But consuming those, you know, They don't hydrate us, basically, is the point.
Yeah, and one of the things Dr. Moreno had mentioned it a while back, like if you're going to drink a caffeinated beverage, drink the equal amount in water in addition to that.
Ooh, that's a good advice right there.
Yeah, like if you drink I don't drink an 8-ounce cup of coffee. I drink 12 or 16. Like definitely don't drink 8 ounces. Yeah, 8 ounces, pansies. No, but I have a caffeine problem. My husband used to be a barista, so I drink a lot of coffee, and I definitely probably part of why I drink so much water is because I want to make sure I'm drinking enough water to hydrate, because I don't count coffee as a hydrating factor. It's not. And so if I'm drinking my 16-ounce cup of coffee, I better drink at least 16 ounces worth of water to make up for that coffee that I drink.
Okay, I love that, because it's not that you can't have the caffeine,
Yeah.
right? It's just that it's not, I don't know, necessarily counting onto our ounces for the day, whatever those are for you.
Yeah, it's
so,
pretty much a
I love
diuretic.
that.
Yeah, it's
Right.
pretty much a diuretic, which, speaking of diuretics, another one that is diuretic that isn't caffeinated is alcohol.
Ooh, yeah. Very, very
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, people forget that because, alcohol, it makes you go to the bathroom and it doesn't hydrate you at all.
Nope. Yeah, has the very opposite effect. That's why, headaches and things ensue.
So
No.
Well,
we could go on and on about
oh, yes.
the lack of positivity there, but
Yeah, obviously everything in moderation, but just recognize, like, some of these things aren't
Correct.
necessarily, we're not saying them as their health things, just knowing that they do cause some detriments if we consume them,
Right.
especially in excess. Now,
yes.
the question that I have is, like, are there drinks that you can drink that will get you more hydrated that aren't water?
That's a good question.
As I slam my hand onto my water bottle, explain.
Your 40 answer, explain. There's definitely ways we can get hydrated without water, right? So long as the,
Photosynthesis.
True.
No, I'm
Oh
lying.
my
Don't do
gosh.
that. That's bad.
No,
Anyways,
no.
continue.
No, don't do that. So there are definitely fluids that we can consume that hydrate us that are not just water. I think where we have to be careful, though, is a lot of these beverages, depending on what you're drinking, can have added sugars, or we add sugars and things to them, right, to make them taste better for making a concoction at home. But yeah, we can absolutely drink other liquids that aren't just water. We can also do things to water to make it, jazzed up a little bit. Make some spa water, something like that. But yeah, do you have any, like, in particular go-tos that you enjoy when you're not feeling water in the moment?
I love seltzer. I'm a seltzer fiend. Yeah. I used to be a big diet soda drinker for a long, long, long time, and I managed to swap it for a seltzer because, I need the bubbles.
Nice. Good for you. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course I managed to find a caffeinated version, so basically everything but the color and the diet part of it, and I got myself the same exact thing now. So
There you go.
whatever. But that's not a hydrating factor, though. What I actually really like water a lot, and I typically don't drink caffeinated seltzers all the time. That's like a one time a day thing for me. That's like my soda, if you will.
Yeah, your treat.
Yeah, it's my treat, because I know it's only 35 milligrams, but still it's caffeinated. But
Right.
I really like I do like to make, like, herbal kind of teas, like cold herbal teas. Like, one of them I really like, it just turns purple, is the butterfly pea flower tea, because it's dark royal blue, and then when you add an acid, it turns this brilliant purple.
Lovely.
So you squeeze some
That's
lemon in
fun.
there, and you have this flavorful purple drink, and then I'll usually water it down with seltzer because I have a problem, and then we're great because bubbles.
Yeah, because bubbles. Oh my gosh, I love that. That sounds fabulous.
But I also really just love lemons in general, so I'll add it to everything. I just add it to plain water all the time too.
Truly, though, lemon is like one of those things that, oh my gosh, you can add it to anything and it tastes so good. In my opinion, anyway. But I'm probably the most boring person on the planet when it comes to hydration. I love my water. And every now and then I'll have a glass of milk. And that's about it. I'm so, like, dry when it comes to hydration. So I wish I liked tea. I wish I liked coffee.
I mean,
But I
the
like the
tea I
smells.
make doesn't have a flavor. It's just colorful.
Oh, okay.
It's
Nice.
Yeah, I say herbal tea, but, like, it tastes like a lot of nothing. And then I add lemon.
And then I add lemon. See, that I could probably enjoy.
Yeah, it's just more fun. It's more of a fun thing
Yeah.
to do. Like, experiment.
Yes.
Butterfly pea flower tea. Anyone who wanted to hear that. So anyways, it doesn't really have much of a flavor on its own. It's pretty neutral.
Yeah.
Now, I do know, like, as far as hydrating things, generally alcohol-free, caffeine-free, most of those things can be hydrating, right? Like anything that's
Yep.
alcohol or caffeine-free.
Absolutely.
So, you can add, like, I don't do this because I'm a purist, but, you could add a splash of fruit juice to water to add some more flavor to it. Because I know some people
Yep.
just really just don't like water, although I really, truly enjoy water. I actually really like it. So for me, it's not a problem. But I know some people go, I just don't like it. And that's
Yep.
fine. Like, you got to make it something appealing to you. And so that's why I love adding lemons, cucumbers, mint, blueberries, flavors that you enjoy, raspberries, they sell infuser bottles with a little cage that catches all the fruit, some people actually will freeze fruit into ice cubes and put those ice cubes in their water bottles.
Yes. And that makes it look pretty too. That's fun.
Yeah. So, just finding ways to make it more exciting for you. And like, seltzer is hydrating. Like, don't be afraid of drinking seltzer if you like seltzer. I know I'm not talking alcoholic seltzer. I'm talking your standard run-of-the-mill seltzer, just bubbly water.
Yeah.
Not club soda that has salt. We're talking seltzer.
Right.
So if you like seltzer, that is hydrating too. So you can use that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I like your point of I don't necessarily do this either, but I like your point of adding a little splash of something to water to even just like start to get people more familiar with maybe more diluted flavors. So you start to like develop your palate for it a little bit more if you struggle with getting the water in there.
Exactly.
Any form of like athlete or person out there sweating a lot, like doing the things. Like my dad, for example, races off-road trucks in the desert, and he would add a little splash of like a sports drink to some plain water, right? To like give it some flavor while he's out there sweating a lot. So I just think that's a smart idea. And even just for folks who aren't necessarily out there sweating all day, if you're trying to work your way to building a palate for more water, diluting a little bit could be helpful.
Exactly. Now, speaking of sports drinks, because those tend to, advertise hydration. That's like their whole shtick. What do you think about that?
Unless you are, and you had a really good point to this too when we were pre-chatting, but unless you are, again, construction worker out in the sun all day sweating, or an athlete training more than 1 hour at a time, especially sweating and outside type of thing, those aren't things that we need to consume just because they contain electrolytes and added sugars and things, or like in quantities that we didn't lose that much, if that makes sense. Especially if you're just like an average Joe working out 45 minutes a day or less type of thing, we're not having that crazy of losses. So they have their place, I think, but it's a tiny place.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
The origination of like one of the more popular brands out there was because it was a football team training out in the Florida sun for a long, long time. And they kind of needed it. And in those particular instances, it's a valid thing to consume because, it has salt, it has sugar to replenish your nutrients you need for your exercise, water to hydrate you. Like there's a place. But they advertise to the layperson and convince the layperson they need to be consuming this drink for just 30-minute power walk through the park, which unfortunately you're not doing enough to justify the losses there to then need to consume some sort of a sports drink to replenish your hydration. So, that's kind of where we're at on that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then at that point too, you've had, nearly all your added sugar that you should for the day type of thing. So
they're big time sugar bombs there, but
yeah.
And then there's also like, electrolyte drinks that you can get too that aren't necessarily sports drinks. Like electrolyte drinks are like, powders you can pour into water and make an electrolyte drink. I'm sure you've seen those. They're being advertised pretty heavily these days. Actually, they're everywhere.
They are indeed. They are gaining popularity for sure. And one marketing strategy I saw was that like one of these packets in a however much water counts as 8 glasses of water for the day or something. I just pulled those numbers out, but it was something like that.
I think it is 8, but it doesn't math out. Is it 8?
Okay.
Yeah.
No. And I would encourage you, if you see something like that, pretty please don't just think that one dosage of liquid is your hydration for the day, because there's nothing you can add to a liquid to magically make it hit, 64 ounces plus that the average person needs in a day inside of your system. So I understand the intrigue, right?
Yeah.
But
I think there has to actually be like 8 ounces or 8 cups of water extra, like
right.
Where is that water manifesting itself? I don't know. It's a little confusing.
How is it magically appearing in my body? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
I take the osmosis of the air. No. Yeah, it's such an important point though. Like, don't fall victim to marketing strategies, because we are in a society that does have a lot of marketing around products that can convince us we need them when we really don't. And that's one of them, is this hydrating stuff. Like, a lot of them market like hangover cure, and it's like that. No, there isn't one. There isn't. I'm sorry.
Right.
Like, if you have one, tough cookies. I'm sorry you did that to yourself. Like, there's no special amount of sports drink or hydrating liquid you can drink that'll undo it. They actually have done a lot of research, and they don't know what to do about hangovers. So like, we're not going to get into that, but like, just as the context behind the statement is, there's no amount of research out here indicating anything is going to help you.
Right. Yeah.
You're just going to feel kind of crummy for a day,
right.
But as far as hydration is concerned, I think the main point really, like, make sure you're definitely drinking fluids that are not caffeinated or alcoholic.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's a big point. Like, just literally anything that's not caffeinated or alcoholic. So if you love milk, drink milk. Just recognize there's calories in milk. So, if you're like, I'm going to drink all of my calories from milk, it's like, or all of my water from milk or whatever. It's like,
that's going to add up for you. Yeah.
It's a little extra there, but you could just recognize that's a lot of calories you're taking in from milk. Because you need at least half your body weight's worth, probably.
Yes.
But then, other things too is like, take into consideration what you're doing, because sometimes you have to adjust your fluid intake for what you're doing to stay properly hydrated as well.
Yeah.
If you happen to be more active or have an outside job or an active job. Also genetics. As the resident sweaty person in the room, I drink a lot of water because I'm also very sweaty. I know everyone loves to hear that about me, and you don't see me, so whatever, you can't tell. But Kimberly might be able to tell. I don't know.
I can't tell. No.
Okay, good. But genetics play a role too. Some of them go, yeah, I'm always sweaty all the time. Like, guess what? You got to drink more fluids. Like, that's just how it's gonna be for you. I get it. I'm there with you. It's just your genetics. You lost that genetic lottery. There's not much we can say. Some people aren't very heavy sweaters, and they don't sweat a lot at all, which I'm very envious of you. And then you may not need as much water. But again, a lot of it is indicative of, urination, the color, and frequency. That's typically how we know.
Yeah, absolutely. Another fun fact, just when it comes to like thirst cues, like we mentioned, we usually wait until like we're thirsty to drink, and then it's too late. We can
I've
actually
been drinking
mix
water
up
this whole podcast because we keep talking about it. I'm like, I need to drink more water. Anyways,
I know. I'm so glad you are, because I'm like, I need to fill up my water bottle. Shoot. But we do actually mix up our hunger and our thirst cues too. So one thing I would encourage people to do too, when you're just like grabbing for food, mindlessly or intentionally, even stop and ask yourself, okay, when was the last time that I actually drank something? Because it is really easy for us to mix those, cues in our system up.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Like, sometimes thirst masquerades as hunger, and that's usually when you eat and then you just don't feel satiated. You're like, I really don't feel like I had what I needed.
Yep.
It could just have been thirst from the get-go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's a great point. I really do. Because I was like, I did know that. I was like, oh, we should mention that. I was like, yes, I'm glad you did. So good. Okay.
Yes. Good.
Check. Yeah. Anytime you're hungry, it's always just a good practice just to drink water, just to see. You never know.
True. Yeah. And it's also a good, helps keep you, satisfied a little bit too prior to entering your meal, as opposed to going in ravenous, which we can sometimes do.
And I guess the one last thing I wanted to talk about, just because, we had mentioned it a little bit previously before we started about the temperature of water, because I thought that was kind of an interesting point. I thought it'd be cool bringing up, but I've heard a lot of different things about temperature of water in terms of how it affects us. Like, well, is it more hydrating to drink warm water versus cold water versus room temperature water? Like, does that make a difference? Should we do certain things? Should we avoid the ice? And then as a person who loves my cold, ice-filled water, I will fight you if you say bad things about ice. So any thoughts?
And go ahead. No.
And go now. Don't make me sad.
That's hilarious. I was actually reading an article, like a very sound article, actually, from a good resource that says cold. Okay, hold on. I might butcher this a little bit, but it says that cold water takes more like effort for your body to like warm up, right? Once it's inside. So it can actually like boost your metabolism just a little bit, which is kind of cool. So anyway, there is a benefit to consuming cold water.
Hooray.
I have heard, hooray, yeah.
Hooray.
And then I have heard too that I think your thirst sensation is quenched more when you have room temperature water. Sorry. I'm fidgeting and threw this at my face. Okay.
Oh, we're keeping that.
Oh, fabulous. Oh, geez. But
okay,
but yeah,
so room temperature water though. Okay.
Yeah, it can like quench your thirst sensation more.
Interesting.
Yeah, not sure if you've heard any different things on that, but
No, I've heard about the same. I've heard that like
okay.
room temperature water. I one thing I heard, I don't know how valid it is that it might be slightly more hydrating because it's just easier for your body to absorb it since it doesn't have to warm it up too much.
Right, right.
You know, like it eases it on you, but like as far as your preferences, this is where I would always stand. Like I love cold water, and I know some people don't, but like I love cold water, so I'm gonna make it as cold as possible. Brain freeze, let's go. Like that's where I'm at. I want to be suffering when I drink my water, but some people don't like what I just described. They go, that's terrible. And you may prefer it a little bit warmer or even just like tap temperature, right? And that's fine.
Yeah.
Like if you prefer water a certain temperature, it doesn't play too huge of a role. As far as hydration is concerned, you're still consuming it. So
right. Yes.
That's
which
really
is
ultimately
goal number one. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we want you to do. So as long as you're just drinking it, we don't really care.
Yeah. Exactly.
But
I
yeah,
love
you
that.
know, finding a way to make it easier on yourself to drink water or fluids in general that are not, you know, diuretics that are causing water loss. And if you do like those things, consuming something that will make up for that so you're not just like lacking in that water.
Yeah.
But
I think,
you know,
no, you're spot on. And I think the last thing I would add is just because a beverage claims to be sugar-free, calorie-free, anything free doesn't necessarily make it better either, right?
Yeah.
Because there's some not so good goodies that they throw in there to still give our food flavor, right? Or beverage flavor,
yeah,
I guess.
I've seen those like little like tiny bottles that you could squeeze into it that add flavor, like a couple of drops and turns like bright green. You have this like green flavored beverage or blue favorite, like I don't know, blue, like my favorite thing to ask kids, like what does blue taste like? And they're like blue. I'm like, cool, thanks, buddy.
Awesome.
But if
That's great.
just a little FYI for anybody is ask a child what does blue taste like. It's a fun question to ask them. But anyways, that's beside the point. But yeah, like those little additives to water, like flavoring agents you see, from what I've seen in the ingredients list, they're mostly chemicals.
Right. Exactly. And they, you know, there's a lot of things that, you know, we know about those types of chemicals that we just don't want to consume them in excess amounts. So,
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, anything that claims to be free, just exercise some caution with. Don't have it in as great of quantity as, you know, good old best friend water that we can do things to jazz it up.
Exactly. If you can make water more appealing to you in some way where you're like, oh, great, I can drink that. Cool. Another tip, just as like a little going away tip for us. If you get a straw, you'll drink more fluid.
Hey, is it because it's like more convenient or easier, I guess, for us to just,
You will drink
There's
more
something to
liquids and more fluids if you have a straw versus if you do not. So if you struggle with drinking fluids, get yourself a tumbler or something with a straw, and that will increase your ability to drink.
I love that. Also, get a cute water bottle. That helps me.
I have like this industrial size like storage container on here. It fits my phone. Look, I got a sticker in here. Do you need a hair tie or chapstick? I got that in here.
Oh my gosh, you are ready. I love that.
And if someone comes at me, I got a handle and I can whack them. So we're good.
Self-defense and a purse all in one.
Exactly. I have a satchel thing I can put on it. Like, oh my gosh, it's the best thing. And it's pink.
Okay.
Oh boy. But anyways, I do
awesome.
like that though. Zhuzh it up, make your bottle look pretty, make it fun. That's always exciting. But it's about that time.
As always.
I know, it goes so fast. But what I would like everyone to do who's listening, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment if you're watching this on YouTube, and and we always love hearing from you too. If you want to go to our website, positivechoice.org, you can leave a comment on there and say, hey, I'd love to learn about blah, blah, blah. And we will happily try to address that in one of our podcast episodes, because we always love to hear from our listeners what you're interested in learning about. So with that being said, until next time, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.